Welcome again and thank you for joining our global webinar day here at Infosim. Our topic today is Infosim Labs, Unified SDN, NFV and Cloud Management. My name is Hendrik Degener, Senior Engineer with Infosim, and I will be moderating today's event. Joining us from our headquarter office here in Würzburg, Germany, is my colleague Dr. David Hock. David is a research and development senior consultant at Infosim, where he coordinates the research activities, in particular in the areas of SDN, NFV and IoT. Good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon, everybody.
David is going to guide us through the presentation and live demo today. But before I hand over things to David, I have a couple of items I would like to inform you about. First off, all of you are automatically muted to keep down the background noise. So to answer your questions, please use the GoToWebinar application, especially the questions window. As usual, we will be taking care of all your questions either directly in the chat or at the end of today's webinar in our question and answer session. So please don't hold back and let us know if you have a question or remark at any time. Also, please be aware that this event is being recorded and all of you will be notified tomorrow via email on how to access that recording. And that's all from my end so far, so I would like to go ahead and hand over control to our presenter, David Hock. David, are you ready to take control?
Yes, thank you very much, Hendrik, for the introduction. Welcome again. And I want to start right away with the first part of our agenda. Why is the management of mixed infrastructures a challenge? So actually I want to start with a small metaphor. So orchestration, management and control, all those are words that are very common nowadays in everybody's ears, especially in the communications network area. And actually I think it's not just a coincidence that orchestration is close to the word orchestra, music orchestra, because in the same way as you have orchestration, management and control in communication networks, you also have that in music orchestras. So let me briefly explain that example a bit further to show my point. So in a music orchestra, on an orchestration level, you have a conductor that is actually taking care of showing the music instruments when is the right entry to start playing. You have to control the volume of the different musicians in order to get nice music, the speed of the composition and all that. Going one level lower, you have the management. I would say in an orchestra this is maybe something done by a concert master or some other people helping this concert master, making sure that the musicians have their notes ready to play, the instruments need to be tuned to fit to each other. You need to make sure that you have double staffing in case somebody is sick and can't play, that you have some other person taking over. All this is something on a management level, and if management doesn't work, the orchestration cannot start. And going even one level lower, going to control, you could actually say that control is something in an orchestra that happens e.g. among the different musicians of the same kind of instrument. Let's say all the trumpets together, obviously they need to be able to read notes, they need to be able to play the instrument, and they need to organize each other with the other trumpets to make sure that each of the different notes to be played by trumpets are separated on the different people. The same for the clarinets, the same for the trombones and so on. So you have the different levels, and no management without control, no orchestration without management. Putting that example a bit further, to have that orchestration, obviously you need a conductor. And it's not enough to have just a set of semiconductors, so like people that are responsible for parts of the orchestration, but you need to have one central player that is doing a central unified orchestration and management in order to make sure that the system can work, that the concert can be nice. Moving this back to the communication networks area, actually here I think it's quite the same thing. So as in an orchestra you might have like classical instruments like violins, you might have like modern instruments like e-guitars and percussion, and you might have some special instruments like in this case pipes in the picture. In the same way you might have NFV, SDN, legacy, all this comes together in a communication network, in an infrastructure, and this needs to be managed all together. Putting that to a picture, especially to communication networks, here we are looking into different interfaces of SDN and NFV, cloud, and all what is related here. So looking at the different APIs you have on the one side you have southbound, you have the communication between a controller and the different switches in the network, but northbound you also have the communication to all the different applications. That is, however, not enough. You also have westbound when you have different controllers. These could be different open source controllers, could be the same controllers but in different areas, like in the cloud area, data center area, and in a wide area network area. This could be proprietary controllers as well. So you have some sort of a westbound among all those. And you also have the eastbound, because typically you don't have a clean SDN NFV setup, but you also have legacy environment that is already there. So all this needs to go together, and all this needs to be looked at. So coming back to the management, why is it difficult? Actually, as you can see, evidently there are many musicians and instruments, many things to take care of, to manage and to orchestrate, and there are also many challenges. SDN and NFV might be nice when set up correctly and when already running, but how to bootstrap all that? How to configure the devices being in factory settings to start with SDN and NFV? How to support multiple standards. There's not just one controller out there that is going to win and that is going to be used everywhere, but it seems that there are different players on the market that need to be taken care of. How to consider that. Automated root cause analysis. There are a lot of different things here in that network that are linked together, and if you have failures in the network you need to link the physical and the virtual information, all the different parts to get a complete overview, a holistic overview of what is happening. Transparency. How do you actually know that what you are configuring on the northbound API is actually really conducted on the southbound API? Obviously you are hoping that this is the case, but isn't it better to be able to check if it's really done? And finally, migration. I already pointed that out. If you don't think of clean slate and clean architectures like greenfield, but rather brownfield, where you have a lot of existing devices and you are slowly adding SDN and NFV, you need to consider how to migrate all that smoothly to from legacy to the new world. This brings me to the next topic. How is having a unified management strategy helpful? So actually, excuse me when I go back once more to that example with the music orchestra, because again I think that is a good way to explain what a unified management infrastructure can help here. So imagine with me a daily life situation in a music orchestra. The conductor gets a phone call that actually 2 trumpets, a violin, and a drummer are sick. They cannot play tonight, and some other people have to take over to play. Maybe they even informed these people, but there has to be replacement. Actually, it turns out after a short analysis that probably they have all been to the same restaurant yesterday night. The food was not good, so that's probably the case why they are ill. They have been in contact with the doctor, and actually they got some medication, so hopefully they will be back playing very soon. In the meantime, the conductor also looking at the different results of the recent exams the musicians did, he actually recognizes that one of the newcomers actually did a new degree in music and is now able to play like a more important role in the orchestra than before. So actually he decides that this might be a good replacement for some of the trumpets that are missing. Email can be used as a medium to send the notes to everybody in order to make sure that enough people have the information in case of additional sick leaves. Yet another thing, maybe the conductor recognizes or the concertmaster recognizes that some of the clarinets have the wrong notes and they actually need another set of notes in order to be able to play the concert. And finally, all together they are able to play a great concert. So this shows us that a clear process and interaction of the different players, in this case, guided by a conductor, helps to solve the problems. So now you might be wondering, why am I telling all that? So let me put that back to the communication and networks and to the network and services management area. So all these things you also have to some extent in the unified management area. You have alarming. You get informed if something happens. You have automated root cause analysis. You are putting different information together and finding out what is happening, finding a root cause. You have trouble ticket system integration. So you are informing external players in order to make sure that problems can be solved quickly, in order to automate the processes, and in order to make this also scalable. You have performance management and SLAs. That should be the same people have to, in this case the same units have to take a track of this in order to be able to decide on future resources, to decide how to plan, to cover double failures and all that. You have provisioning, so you need an automated, scalable way to distribute the information to all the different entities in the network. You have policy checking and compliance. As I explained with this Clarinet node example, you need to make sure that the configurations in the network are actually up to date, that the firmwares are up to date, and that everything in the network is working as expected. And obviously, if you have one unified conductor and process, then you are able to play a nice concert and to do good orchestration and management. So altogether, this is where a unified, automated orchestration and management strategy can really help. What should you expect from a good unified management solution? So now, leaving that music orchestra example at the side for a moment and really getting to network management, network and services management, what should you expect here? So first of all, it is important to have an integration of fault, performance and configuration by design. So you need the different things that I just highlighted that are important for automation and for having a smooth working together of all that. You need to have that integrated by design. If you have like different tools that share a common name but that need to be integrated as different tools, you cannot be that effective as you are when you really have a by design integration. Another thing is you need automation and you need scalability. So the systems, manual effort is completely fine for a small number of entities, but if you go large scale and you have to do it with a lot of services, a lot of elements involved, you have to have some automated way that is scalable. Multi-vendor support. I said that earlier. You don't have just one or two players, but you have a lot infrastructure elements from different vendors that you need to put all together. And obviously also flexibility and extendability, because past showed us many times that this changes quite a lot and there are new players coming up, and there need to be some interfaces and APIs that actually allow you to be flexible and to extend your solution towards that way. So that is actually where our solution StableNet comes into play. So we offer a unified management solution that has 3 integrated technologies that focus on configuration, fault and performance. And this is not just on the network and server level, but this is up to the application and process level. I think I could actually give a complete webinar only on this topic, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. There are several webinars where we are explaining more about our unified management approach, and we also, in some of the webinars, we specifically concentrate on visualization options, on reporting and so on. So please have a look at those. But now I want to go back a little bit to the SDN NFV area in particular. So here again we see that infrastructure that we had before, and actually we see in that infrastructure there are a lot of places where I have to monitor, where I have to configure, where I have to do policy checking and all that. And actually I try to visualize that in the graphic by using certain icons. The chart icon is actually indicating everything that is related to monitoring. Tiers icon is actually indicating everything that is related to configuration. And what you actually see is that there are a lot of places all over that infrastructure where you have to monitor or configure something. And all this together can be done with a unified network and services management approach in StableNet. And obviously here there is also the service workflow. So actually we are following a service-based approach, starting from a definition of a service, rolling it out and roll out and provisioning, the performance monitoring and fault monitoring, up to the root cause analysis. So I think these are enough PowerPoint slides for now, and I actually want to go into a short live demo about unified management for mixed infrastructures. In order to do that, I just want to briefly show you the infrastructure of our demo lab that we are working on, working with here in the headquarters in Würzburg. We actually have different cloud environments where this number is steadily increasing, and we also have different SDN environments with different SDN controllers in place. And actually today, for my live demo, I want to pick an example use case where we have an end-to-end web service between a StableNet agent in one of the SDN environments and the cloud web service that is run in one of the clouds. And here I have the possibility to show different things regarding discovery, monitoring and performance management, fault management and automated RCA, and also regarding backup, restore and configuration. I will pick some subset, and there are also other webinars where I have shown that already regarding discovery, for instance, in the past. So let's move to the rich client of StableNet. Here we see the StableNet rich client, and the view I have currently open is actually showing an overview dashboard. I will quickly explain the components and directly explain you some of the functionality of the unified management here. So on the top we have an end-to-end service overview weather map that is actually consisting of several logical parts of the network in one single view, one unified view. You have an SDN part, which is coming in this case from an ONOS SDN network. You have a cloud part, which in this case is from the visualization, is limited to the host where this particular virtual machine is running, and the virtual machine itself with some performance parameters here for the service. You have some legacy components here in the middle, and you also have an ONOS controller that is actually taking care of this SDN part. While I will now, maybe I will briefly jump to ONOS here just to show you that we also see that that ONOS part of the topology, just the SDN part, we also see it here in ONOS directly. So this directly indicates you one of the problems. If you only look at the single element managers, ONOS perfectly knows its own topology, but ONOS doesn't see the open daylight that is next to it, or the legacy interfaces, or all that, or the cloud. So switching back to StableNet, I will now, by explaining further, I will use a short configuration job just to pull down one of the interfaces to show you the effects here. So let's move to the configuration and just shut down one of the ONOS SDN interfaces. We see directly in ONOS that the interface is actually disappearing. So the control directly got it. The job was successful in StableNet. And now we are actually looking here, continuing looking at the overview. And I will explain a bit more, and we will see after some time that actually the management will be informed that the link is down and this will be visualized. So here in the same dashboard we also have some, seems like static pictures, but those are actually not static pictures. Those pictures are directly taken from the corresponding element manager web services. So this means if I see an ONOS logo here, it actually is an indicator for me that the ONOS web UI is currently reachable and I can reach ONOS to do some configuration. If I don't see a picture here, this is an indicator that ONOS cannot be reached. The same for the others. We can, maybe we jump to the weather map to have it in a bit larger format, and we see that in the meantime already here we get a first indicator that actually the service is going down now, and this is actually information coming from ONOS that we are taking inside our management interface. We can also look at the measurement tree. Just open that here to visualize the measurement tree, and here we see that actually now we already get we also get indications that the first measurements are on warning state because some of the ports are not working. I'm just refreshing the weather map here, and we actually see that this port has a problem. We also have the same information in a web-based front end, in the web portal. Here we are, yeah. And in the meantime, we see that our Onos agent is actually telling us that here the HTTP response of the service is not there anymore, so the service is not working. And here finally, it took some time here due to the intervals that I had configured. Finally here we see also in the management that here the link is down, and this is actually indicated to the management level. Obviously those time periods here can also be configured to be in a shorter time interval to have a quicker reaction. I will now start the interface again. And we'll actually show you one more thing inside Onos here, just in the NCCM area. So switching back to Onos, we see that the interface is back on, and now we will jump to one of the switches and actually look at the flow tables of the switch. So here we see the different flows that are inside one of those open flow switches. For those who are familiar with SDN, you will see that here you have different things here, different flows. In total there are 6 of them, and there are rules configured what should be done with that, either pushing it to the controller or directly putting it to some other port. And actually I just want to briefly highlight here another possibility in StableNet. We will actually use the REST interface to do a backup of that flow table. So we will do it in this case on 3 of the Onos switches. This is already done now. And we see here, same software, unified tool, just one software. If we go to Onos, to that switch, we can actually see that there is a new backup just from this time. And here, if we look at the JSON format output that we got from the backup, we actually see that we have a total of 6 blocks, which correspond to 6 flow table rules. I will now quickly flush the flow table of this one device, using REST as well. So this is actually here, I'm selecting this device as well. The device knows which controller it belongs to and which is the IP address, so this can be done with REST. And then I actually see, if I do another backup of the flows, which is happening very quickly, I can actually compare those 2 backups, and I see that 5 of the 6 flows have been removed and just 1 of the flows is remaining. This is actually because this flow is still active, there are still packets going, so Onos directly recreated it. But if you look at the packet count, you see that here is only 529 packets, and it used to be more than 2,000, so this is actually a new flow entry with the same destination, but it's a new entry. And if we look at the website, we actually see the same effect. The table is flushed and just this one entry is left. Final thing I will do in StableNet, I will actually do a restore job that is now restoring the configuration of the previous backup. So this is helpful if you have some flows that need to be configured from management side. You have the possibility to take backups and to restore them in case of problems. And if we look now again at Onos, we actually see that all flows have been restored. That brings me back to the PowerPoint slides. So I have briefly shown in my live demo 3 views like performance monitoring, devices and measurements. I have shown dashboards and weather maps. I have not directly covered the discovery part because, as I mentioned previously, this has been covered in a previous webinar. I talked about this among others in January this year in tailoring StableNet to your portfolio. I have briefly covered the fault management, where I indicated the alarming and the visualization of the errors in the network. And I also briefly covered here the backup and restore and configuration part using REST or CLI. If you are interested in anything in particular, please contact us and please discuss with us, so then we can provide you with more information. I have shown you this weather map. I showed you that in order to be able to do a unified management and orchestration, you need different sources of information. So starting from legacy information like classical SNMP, coming to REST API information like from the SDN part, from ONOS, or from the VMware vSphere part. I didn't show the vSphere client, but it actually offers similar information like we are taking from the API. And obviously you also need some additional contextual information, in this case the flow tables that I read with backup and restore commands. And this actually brings me to the end of my talk. So I think we have seen that control, orchestration and management are all essential parts for communication networks to work. And this is actually what brought me to saying, yeah, this is actually what communication begins with. And I think let's try all together to do a good music concert and to orchestrate, control and manage. Thank you very much. Questions and answers.
Thank you, David. Yeah, we will soon start the question and answer session. But before, I just want to point out that in the meantime, I uploaded a handout for you so that you can take a look at the slides whenever you want. Yeah, and then we have some questions for you, David. Question number one. Are the features you showed in your live demo already available? And if not, when will they become available?
Good question. Thank you very much. Actually, I wanted to mention that at the beginning that everything I showed I did in the most current release 7.6.1. So this, for those of you who are already our StableNet customers or partners, that is the most recent release you already have or can have and update to. And I was using heavily things like external measurements and the other interfaces we provide, but this is completely running on the current release. Obviously, I should add that we are continuously extending that. We are, among others, we are working on a even better REST integration. We are working on service modeling and service catalog, so there are more things to come, but everything I showed is doable with the current StableNet version. And please also use those interfaces for your use cases. Thank you.
Thank you again. So, thanks for answering that. And now we come to question number two. How much does the license for the SDN NFV part of StableNet cost? Does this need an extra module?
That is a good one. I think we are not supposed to talk about. I'm not supposed to talk about that commercial part here in that webinar. But I would say that yes, there are definitely certain licenses and modules you need to activate in our product. Once again, it is one product, so all is included. It's just about activating the correct licenses. Regarding the commercial aspects, I would kindly ask you to contact your StableNet contact persons, or if you don't have a StableNet contact person yet, I would be happy to talk to you about that topic, and please send me a personal email and I will forward it to an adequate person. Thank you.
All right, and now the last question for today. Do the things you showed only work for the cloud environments that you mentioned during your talk?
No. So actually, what did I show in my talk? I think we briefly had an OpenStack. We had VMware in the live demo. I mentioned CloudStack as well and Amazon Web Services. So we have that set up with our interfaces and scripts for several clouds already. We are extending it to further clouds, and actually yes, it does not work just for those, but it also works for others. And as I said, if you have your own use cases, if you have something we might help you with, please come to us and ask us, but you can also go ahead and use the interfaces and do the integrations of your own environment. So both is possible. Thank you. And
if you have some use cases that you're not sure how to tackle them, there are more web sessions on other StableNet related topics available on our website. And as David already said, don't hesitate to contact us. We're happy to help. Yeah, and that's it for today. You see, we have lots of resources available. You're invited to check them out whenever you want. And as I've mentioned earlier, a recording of this webinar will be made available to all of you tomorrow via email. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We will keep the session open for a few more minutes in case anyone from our audience decides to type in another question. Yeah, and that's all from us today, unless David has something to say.
Just thank you to everybody again. I guess you mentioned the handout. I might have missed it, but please download the handout and come to us with your questions. We are happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, and thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.